I feel like I'm just falling apart. This is so embarrassing. How am I ever going to get out of this? I can't get a grip. So it's never easy to admit when you feel like you're failing at something, especially when you're like a perfectionist like me. And I think when a lot of us like watch these journeys on Instagram or YouTube, we expect to see a very familiar pattern. We want to see the problem. We want to see that there's some kind of solution or journey that we're going through to fix the problem. And then there's the happily ever after. And like, I guess I got that. I showed that with my IVF journey, with my eating disorder after the fact, but that is just not how the cards are stacked for this. So I want to catch you guys up to speed and be absolutely honest and transparent with you, because there's a lot here to unpack. This is hard.
But first, let me tell you about my sponsor, Open Farm. So as a mom and dietitian, I take feeding my babies nutritious meals pretty seriously. And while my kids may be a little more demanding, I put the same consideration into my fur baby Poppy's meals as well. So Poppy's a double doodle, and like her mama, the girl likes to eat. So she was very excited when I brought home Open Farm food. I love that they use human grade meat as the first ingredients rather than meat meal, and it's packed with fruits and vegetables. So it's not surprising that Poppy loves the taste. I mean, the dog gets her fair share of toddler handouts, so she's already got quite the palate for the good stuff. All of their ingredients are ethically sourced. So for example, the pork is raised in a cage-free environment and the beef is grass-fed. Right now, Poppy's getting Open Farm's ethically raised pork kibble twice a day, and she goes crazy when I add in some of their grass-fed beef bone broth on top just for some extra flavor. I also usually add a few dog-friendly fruits and vegetables on there as well for extra antioxidants. She also gets a few treats in the day for not barking or not jumping up. But it's been a huge relief to find a pet food that Poppy's not only so excited about eating, but that I also know will help keep her healthy and happy for years to come. So if you want to check out Open Farm for your favorite furry friends, check out my link in the description and use my promo code Abby to get 15% off of your order.
And I just want to pop in here with my general disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. This protocol is just what my doctor has recommended explicitly for me. So this video should in no way be taken as a prescription or a promotion of any kind of pharmaceutical protocol. If anything, this video should serve as a call to action to reduce the stigma around mental illness and getting help for your mental illness. So if you are struggling with anxiety, depression, or other mental illnesses, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional to get the help that you need. Also, if you guys are new here, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell so you never miss out, and follow me over on TikTok and Instagram at Abby's Kitchen.
Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Just feels like it's all going to So to like catch you up, I just finished my herbal antimicrobials to really to tackle the hydrogen bacteria overgrowth that I had after I eradicated the methane dominant bacteria. And I was feeling like really good. I was happy, my bowel movements were good, my bloating was low. It was all looking pretty good. So I went on a little family vacation for March break with my kids in Florida. And I mean, like, travel with kids is always stressful. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I love to spend that time, undivided time with the kids, but it's stressful. You know, you're in a different place. I'm staying with family. It's a lot. at least for me. And I feel like that's often like a bit of a disruption to some of my comfortable routines. And with eating specifically, you know, eating for SIBO or whatever, it means I have to be like more flexible to just accommodate everyone else. So like I'm eating more restaurant foods. I feel like I ate a pretty like gut-friendly diet while I was in Florida. But I would say I'd had like more salad than I do at home, because normally I have most of my vegetables cooked in like soup, but it was like just too hot there to have soup. I wasn't gonna order soup every day. I had gazpacho maybe twice. Probably not the most SIBO friendly dish because of the raw garlic, raw onions. And I would say that sometimes I would have to like have like a mini meal, because if everyone was going out for brunch or for breakfast or for lunch, I maybe wasn't super hungry. So I would have like a mini meal and then a bigger meal later. Also not ideal when it comes to meal spacing. It wasn't perfect by any means, but I did the best that I could, and I kept up with my supplements, and my bowel movements were actually pretty good and normal while I was away. So that was like the food and digestion piece in Florida. Insomnia wise, I also slept pretty well in Florida, which was actually really surprising to me because I normally do not. But twice while I was in Florida, I don't know, like maybe I just was eating intuitively and it was hot that day and I didn't feel like a really big heavy meal for dinner, and I probably had something lighter than usual. And I woke up in the middle of the night to pee as I normally do, and I felt hungry. So I went and got a snack. But it wasn't just like have a snack and go to bed, feel good. It was like I had a snack and I had to go to bed and I still was hungry. So I'd have like another snack, and this probably would happen like 3 times before I could quell the hunger and actually get back to sleep. So it seems like a totally normal thing and not a big deal. But this is really the difference between a normal healthy mind and a mind with an anxiety disorder. Because this is really like how we have a recipe here for like a perfect anxiety, insomnia, IBS storm. So long story short, the day we traveled home, my normal bathroom routine got like thrown off. And I know it's super normal and super common for like travel days or like traveling in general to just like mess up our digestion or our usual kind of bathroom routine. So I don't know if you guys experience that yourself, like leave me a note below. We're all in this together. But again, normally I can kind of like get back on track the next day. But this time I didn't. I was so anxious about not pooping, basically, before I got on the plane. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. I got super uncomfortable, very bloated, very gassy, super constipated all week long. And I still have not gotten back to my kind of Florida or pre-travel poops, if that makes sense. And again, this to most people would be like not a big deal, but for me, with my history of my SIBO and everything I've gone through to get to this point, I am terrified. Like in the middle of the night, I'd be laying in bed, feeling uncomfortably constipated, like I really just want to go, but I can't because of my anxiety. And this overwhelming fear that the SIBO's coming back and I'm never going to get it under control. And it is like debilitating. The fear alone is debilitating. And that is not even like the whole story here. That's the SIBO bit. So like shelf that for like a hot minute. I had a whole other weird problem that I was concurrently dealing with. Basically, when I got home, I found myself waking up in the middle of the night hungry. Like I'd get up to pee and immediately I'd think I'm hungry. And no amount of food could quell my hunger. Like I'm gonna talk numbers for a second, so please trigger warning if this is too much for you, but I would eat a whole normal day of food, maybe like 2,000 calories of food, totally normal for me. I'd get to after dinner time and I would have like a 500 calorie snack just as assurance that I wouldn't wake up hungry. And then I'd wake up anyways, and as soon as I would be up, the first thought in my mind was, I'm gonna get hungry. And obviously it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because the mind and the gut are so intimately connected that I would feel hungry. And I'd have to go downstairs to have a snack. So I'd go down and have a snack, which would wake me up more. It would just interfere with my ability to get back to sleep more. I'd have a snack, I'd go back upstairs, I'd feel full. I'd lay in bed, bam, I'm hungry. I'm still hungry. I'd go back downstairs, have another snack. It would go on and on and on. There was one night that I was up from 11 p.m. because I woke up to pee and I felt hungry, and I had like 2 pears and I think like 5 pieces of peanut butter toast. That's how much I needed to eat. And I still went back to bed and I was up the whole night feeling hungry. And this is not like a typical binge. There was nothing about this that was like, oh, I'm gonna sneak down to the kitchen and have a slice of cake when nobody's watching. No, this was like, oh my gosh, please, can I just make this physiological feeling of hunger, this ravenous eating at my stomach hunger go away so I can go back to sleep? That was what I was experiencing. It was bizarre. And a lot of you guys might be thinking like, well, Abby, intuitive eating would say you should eat. And yes, if we were to look at only one principle of intuitive eating, honor your hunger, that would be true. But when you're dealing also with an anxiety disorder, like it's not the whole picture. It's not the whole story. It's so complicated, especially when it comes to dealing with the intersection between the brain and the gut. So, I've talked to my therapist about issues like this in the past, and often she has said that I have some kind of OCD-like tendencies. And I know that, like they've come out in the past with my eating disorder and they've come out with in my sleep. Often, all of these issues have kind of compulsive or obsessive natures to them. And in the past with my sleep, I would often like create this crutch, this habit with my sleep, and I would need to perform it perfectly out of fear that if I didn't, I wouldn't sleep. And then that would become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So for example, I think I've brought this up before when I talked about needing to pee at night. And I'd be laying in bed and I'd be constantly thinking, do I need to pee? Is that the feeling of needing to pee? Oh, if I don't go pee now, then I'm gonna wake up in an hour and I'm gonna have to pee then. So I better get up now and pee. And then basically, I would physically make myself feel the sensation of needing to pee, even if there wasn't like, I don't know, pee in there. Whatever you want to call it. So I know this about myself. I know what my mind is capable of. And I knew that the hunger that I was feeling at night wasn't like an actual physiological need for more calories. It wasn't that I was lacking in calories and that, I was starving all day and then feeling the need to overeat at night, which happens a lot, especially in kind of disordered eating circles. That wasn't what was happening here. And I know this for various reasons, but one of which being that the hunger that I was feeling when I was laying in my bed at night would be gone. The second that my kids would call for me in the morning and it'd be time to get out of bed, that feeling would be gone. I wouldn't be hungry anymore. And actually, I would actually feel very full. I would be feeling very full from all the food that I had just eaten in the night. So I know this about myself, and I know that this is just another manifestation of my anxiety. So just like any other kind of compulsion or obsession, I know that the best thing to do is to really challenge those beliefs, to challenge those assumptions and those obsessions and the need to act out a specific ritual in a specific way, like going downstairs to getting another snack to eat. That is just reinforcing to me that I need to get up in the middle of the night to eat. And my rational brain knows that I don't. So the really difficult thing for me right now is going to be trying to balance out how to trust and honor my body while also not giving in to some of the kind of anxious compulsions that make me feel safe and make me feel comfortable. And honestly, that's just feeling like a lot.
4 to 6 days later.
So I went to go get some blood work done today, really just to rule out any kind of abnormalities with the blood sugars, just because it is strange that I'm getting so hungry in the middle of the night like that. But if I'm honest with myself, I think I know that the real issue is just that I need to get my anxiety better under control. And that might mean more medication in the future, and more than just my regular sleep medication, my Dayvigo and my THC or CBD and my melatonin and supplements and things like that for sleep. It might just not be enough. And that feels like I'm opening up just like this whole new scary can of worms. I'm terrified of becoming addicted because I know myself. I have a super addictive personality and I feel like I can't just take drugs away. I always have to add more. And like my super duper anxiety, like catastrophic belief in my mind that I've been working through in therapy for the past 10 years is like kind of becoming like a Michael Jackson situation. That's what I'm scared of. But I'm scared of all sorts of things. I'm scared of feeling unlike myself. I'm scared of having to spend like a year plus trying out all these different drugs and experiencing all these horrible side effects in the meantime, especially because a lot of SSRIs cause bloating and digestive issues and constipation, which would exacerbate my SIBO and my IBS and all of the horrible GI troubles I've had over the past, I don't know, 10 years. Then on the flip side, I also know that my SIBO and my digestive issues are also exacerbated by my anxiety. So yeah, like this is this complicated black hole cycle. This is a very obviously quite complicated and just this is a very complicated and dangerous cycle, and I'm just trying to find the fastest and simplest way to break it. I don't know if that's possible. Okay, so I ordered this little testing kit from my doctor. It's essentially a genetic test. It's just an oral kind of saliva swab that tests some specific genes that have implications for how different pharmaceutical anti-anxiety and antipsychotic and antidepressants work in the body. So the concept is that it may help cut down on the kind of exploration phase of trying to figure out which drug and which dosage works for the specific patient. Because we know that like most people spend months, if not years, trying to find an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication that actually works for them in a dose that doesn't cause all sorts of different unwanted side effects. And obviously my goal here is to reduce the side effects and also reduce the time it takes to get to a good place. That's really my big fear right now. And they have some studies. I was like reading up on it online in like their physician brochure. And I think those studies are probably funded by the company themselves. Doesn't render them useless. And I think most of them looks like they have to do more with kind of subjective measures of success. However, I love data. I figured it's worth a go. It's a couple $100s to do, and it doesn't hurt me to have this information. So if it can help me find a solution that is going to help me feel better faster, I'm all for it. Now I just have to read the instructions because I always F these things up. Says these are very solid pressure, so here I am. I kind of got a canker sore in there. Oh, this is really sexy, like right in here. I look like a chipmunk. Has a peanut in it. Okay, these have got to be drenched at this point. Just a little more for good measure. Okay, so a few wee updates. I had a call with my psychiatrist, my psychologist, one of my best friends who is also a psychiatrist, and I got my test results back. So we have a lot to unpack. But first of all, I told my friend about the strange night eating episode situation, and she was like, Abby, like, maybe your THC is giving you the munchies? And I was like, what? Like, I guess I like blocked out that common side effect of THC from high school.
Hijo de la chingada. Is that a joint, man?
But after she said that, I was like, you're probably right. Okay, I'm gonna try to cut that out of my sleep cocktail and just like see how I do. And lo and behold, it's been like 5 nights and I have not felt that strange, overwhelming, ravenous hunger in the middle of the night. Was it the drug? Was it the anxiety? Honestly, I know myself. It was probably the anxiety, to be honest. But I was chatting with my psychologist about this, and we've come to the conclusion that I often just need some kind of like realistic, scientific explanation for any kind of experience or phenomenon in my life. And that way I can just kind of like put that to bed and be like, yep, that's why that happened, but it's not happening now because of this. And I can just move on. So even if I like half believe that the THC did this to me and now the THC is gone, the anxiety over feeling that hunger is also gone. So yeah, like so far so good. And I'm just kind of gonna hope that that piece is behind me. Now, onto the drugs. So before we got back the genetics test, everyone was in agreement that Cipralex or Lexapro, same thing, different name, was likely the best option for me, which is also what I was kind of hoping for too, because it does have one of the best side effect profiles for most people. So my psychiatrist prescribed that, and I spent basically all week kind of hyping myself up to start today. And I was finally feeling at ease and like somewhat prepared and kind of excited about it. Although of course I was still scared. But then over the weekend, I got my genetics test back. And of course, it basically said that all of the SSRIs, including this one, Lexapro, had a higher side effect risk for me specifically. So like they could still be used theoretically, but they said to use with caution. And like I said earlier, like the test is not perfect. So a lot of people will be on a drug that seems to be working for them, but then the test result will say it's not good for them and vice versa. So it's not that this wouldn't work for me or this would make me, have terrible side effects necessarily, but I just really wanted to go into this with as much confidence as possible to give it a fair shot. And I know how powerful my brain is. And if I go into this worrying that it's not going to work, it's going to make me worse, it's going to, make me more anxious, it's going to give me insomnia, it's going to make my bloating worse and my IBS worse, etc., etc., etc. Those things will probably happen because my mind is so powerful. It can manifest these things physically as well. So like naturally I was so upset all weekend long. I really just don't know where that even leaves me. Like what are my options at this point? And I have a call on Tuesday with my psychiatrist to really regroup, but like I just feel so discouraged. And I don't know, unless she has some kind of like miraculous idea, but I'm at the point now where I guess I just kind of feel like there is not gonna be a perfect drug for me, and I'm gonna have to kind of experience some kind of struggle to get through this and to get better. So I'll wait to see what she says. My husband and I talked a lot over the weekend, and he's being so patient and kind, and he's really kind of encouraging me to maybe try to change some things in my life for the next couple weeks before I hop into the medication. I'm not sure that there's a point in that. I'm not sure that like changing my work schedule or him kind of like helping out a little bit extra on certain days or on the weekend is really going to change my brain. It might make me a little bit happier, but at the end of the day, I don't think my anxiety is caused by my unhappiness. My anxiety probably causes my unhappiness, if that makes sense. But anyways, it's another journey, another one for the books. So I just hopped on another call with my psychiatrist, and long story short, we kind of like went through the list of the drugs on the genetic test that I took. And, she feels strongly, just based on her experience, that a lot of people will test as saying they're going to have side effects on a particular drug, and they've been taking that drug and it's been totally fine. So she still believes that the Lexapro, like Cipralex, is the best option for me. But we went through like every other option, and most of them that have decent side effect profiles from her experience are likely going to be too stimulating for me. A lot of them are kind of good for like pain or for concentration and things like that, but I don't need that. And I don't need stimulating. It's going to be a problem for me because it's going to be a sleep issue. It's going to make me more kind of nervous in the day. I need to be like sedated a little bit. So I am limited for options. The one she recommended, and she liaised with a colleague who also recommended Xoxo. But I've heard scary stories about Xoxo, and the main one is that it's very, very hard to get off. And I already have like such an addictive personality that like just the idea of having to come off something like that's going to cause me so much emotional and physical turmoil, like it's so scary. This is like what I was scared of. Basically being like tethered to something for the rest of my life, unable to feel free from it in a time and place where maybe I can just be doing what I gotta do on my own without being medicated. And my husband has been so supportive, and he's trying to do all these little things to help me and to make me feel better so that maybe I can just like be happy and not need medication. But I know myself, I know my mind, and I know I can't just live a normal life where my brain just doesn't have these thoughts. It's not like I'm working too much and that stress is putting too much strain on me and that's what's giving me anxiety. No, if I were to quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom or with 10 nannies, I would still find something to be stressed about. I would still find something to keep me up at night. So even if he were to take me away to live in the south of Spain with no responsibilities, I would still not sleep at night. I would find something to be anxious about. It's a problem with my brain. And so I feel strongly that I do need to do this for myself, even though I'm so scared. So I'm probably going to end up going with the Cipralex, the Lexapro, even though I'm scared to have a document staring in front of me that says I'm probably going to react poorly to it. I'm just going to hope for the best. That's all that I can do. So guys, wish me luck. This is just so hard. The anxiety over anxiety over anxiety, just like the sandwich of anxiety I have over every step of this is paralyzing.
Wow, that was a lot.
Okay, update. I ended up getting a second psychiatrist opinion, and we decided to avoid the SSRIs based on my genetic findings and instead try a non-SSRI drug called vilazodone, which is actually an antidepressant, but they are apparently seeing some good results for anxiety as like an off-label option. And if you Google vilazodone, the first thing you'll see are the main side effects, which are nausea, diarrhea, and ironically, insomnia. And they're usually short-lived. And even though I started like a super low dose, like half the normal starting dose, just to kind of like ease my way in, I'm getting all those things. And I know you guys are gonna probably ask me, have you gained weight? Is that one of your side effects? It's only been like a week and a half, so I don't think I've gained any weight. I will say I feel a little more hungry than usual, like between meals. Like I have a bigger appetite than usual, which might actually be a good thing because I have found that since getting COVID, a couple months ago, my appetite is lower than normal. And then basically just out of an act of self-care, I am feeding myself even though I may not have the best appetite to do so. So I might gain weight in this experience, which I know for a lot of people is very scary. But for me, I just kind of have had to accept that that may be just kind of part and parcel with getting better and getting to a better mental state. But I know that this is going to be a journey, like it's a process. So not unlike when I went through IVF, I know that this is not a quick fix. Like I just have to put my head down and expect that the process may be long, maybe windy, it might be messy, but the end result will hopefully be all worth it. So I'm still taking the Dayvigo and my melatonin for sleep, which is probably kind of like helping to buffer some of the trouble sleeping side effects of the vilazodone. And our long-term plan is to get me to like my happy dose on the vilazodone, and then to transition from my Dayvigo, which is my sleep aid, to something called trazodone, which is apparently like a less addictive sleep option. And then because that one is a little easier to wean off of, I will slowly try to wean myself off of that when I feel like I'm at a good place with my anxiety. So that's the long-term plan. And I feel hopeful. Like usually I feel like a complete failure about my anxiety and my insomnia, and it's embarrassing. I feel less than, I feel like, why can't I just get a grip? But for the first time in a really long time, I feel like I have a plan, and I feel like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that it's actually not that far away. So if you guys want to see a little update on how things net out with, side effects and my final dose and how I'm feeling and what other things we need to throw in the mix, leave me a comment below. If you are not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you want more real vlogs from me. And of course, I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye.